What's up, YouTube? StephenWorldwide. Back with you again, and today, on my way to work, I'm going to tell a story about losing a lot of money teaching in South Korea. I should give a name for these videos, these walking to work videos. They seem to be convenient for me to do because usually when I walk to work, I have all these thoughts in my head, and now I'm actually recording them, so. What's she laughing at? I guess it looks kind of weird, somebody walking around talking to their phone, but. Alright, so I lost almost $10,000 my second year teaching in South Korea. And how the hell did that happen? This is a story that I really haven't told. Haven't told this story yet on video and posted it. I was going through somewhat of a crisis in 2012, my second year. 2012 or 2011? Yeah, I guess it was 2011. And this is what happened, basically. When I first got to Korea, my job was awesome. I loved my life. It was like a dream come true. Everything I hoped I would get out of it, everything I hoped Korea would be like, that whole experience of living there and teaching there, it was. I had a family-sized apartment, like a big 2-bedroom apartment that was a 2 or 3 minute walk away from the school that I worked. And the manager was very kind to me. Teachers were nice. The teaching was a little bit difficult in the beginning to get used to, how to teach in a classroom at a private school, or just how to put up with a classroom full of kids. And the manager kind of just put me in there and said, "You're here to practice pronunciation and to speak English clearly and have fun." And he gave me the books and said, "Just go ahead, go at it." And I had never taught before, so there's no orientation. I just kind of got thrown in the fire, and I enjoyed it, and the students, they enjoyed it too. So my first year was dream come true. And every month, when it came down to payday, usually you have a bank account and they wire the money to your account, but my manager would give me an envelope full of cash. Now, if you look back at my earlier videos, you can see my apartment video. I mean, that's a palace compared to what teachers usually get when they first come to Korea. The reason for that was this school used to have 2 teachers, and they got a big apartment that was supposed to house 2 teachers, but when they hired me, they only hired just me, 1 teacher. And you'll find out why in a little bit. So I got that big apartment to myself. So you can see my apartment video, and you can see the video where I'm counting cash. That's like that night I brought a big wad of cash home, and I was talking about how much my bills are, how much I get paid, that kind of thing. So that was a little bit odd, but I didn't know it was odd that he's giving me cash instead of wiring the money to my bank account. When I mentioned that to other teachers, they said, "That's weird. I usually get the money sent to my account." And I said, "I don't care. If all of the money's there, so it takes me 5 minutes to count the cash out once a month. Big deal." It was like $2,000 in Korean money, like 2.3 million won, something like that. And everything was beautiful the first year. The second year changed. So I started in May, and by Christmas time, by December, I knew I wanted to do another year. Pay was good. The job was comfortable. The apartment was great. Everything was fine. The first problem, the first sign of an issue came when it came time to resign, which was around April, you're supposed to get an extra month's pay. That's called a severance pay or bonus. You get paid 13 months. So that was the 13th month, the bonus. And the boss of the Hagwon, the private school, he said, he says to me, that's a lot of money to give you at once, to give you 2 months' pay at one time, which would be like $4,500. He said, can you give me a little bit of time to pay you that bonus? And I said, how much time do you need? A week or two? And he said, how about a month? And I was like, oh, okay, let's see if, I trusted him. And he paid up. He gave me half of it after 2 weeks. And he gave me the other half 2 weeks later. So within a month, he paid the extra like 2.2 million won or $2,000. And because I was new in Korea, because it was my first year, and I'm kind of isolated because I'm the only foreigner teaching in this private school. And Korean teachers that are English teachers that work with you, this is kind of a general thing that I hear a lot of teachers tell me is they don't talk to you and they don't fill you in on what's going on. If there's problems at the school, they don't tell you anything. They just a lot of times they just keep it like a business relationship. And even though they were nice, like when I walk in, they didn't say, oh, hi, Stephen, how are you? How was your day? Like they didn't say any of that. And a lot of times when I do that, I come in, oh, hi, how are you? How was your day? After a couple times, they look at me like there's something wrong with me that I greet them every time I come in. Because like they're not my friends, they're my coworkers. Strange. So May and then June, the first 2 months of the second year, the new contract, I got paid. And then the problem started. The manager says to me, we're going across the street. All right, the manager says to me, I need some time to pay you. And I said, what are you talking about? He's like, I'll pay you half now and I'll pay you the rest later. And he was able to do that again. When he told me to wait, he was able to pay me a little bit later than normal. Meanwhile, some of the classes in the school, the bigger classes were like 10 or 12 students. Then it went down to like 8 students. The classes are slowly getting smaller. And I'm thinking to myself, the good students, the ones that were fun and their English was, they really tried to speak English better. They were leaving and I was sad about that. Oh, I'm leaving some good students. But some of the ones that were, the opposite of that, some of the students that were pains in the asses, when they would leave the school, I would be kind of happy about that. Wow, my class is much easier now without these problem students. But some of the classes went down to like 4 students. And I'm relieved that the job is getting easier, but little do I know that this is a sinking ship. And when it got stretched out around the summertime, where it was like he was starting to just give me like $200 or $300 every week or two, I knew this is becoming a big problem. And I was talking to people about this problem. What do I do? I was looking on Facebook, and the number one piece of advice was go to the labor department and complain to the labor department. You're not getting paid. Grabbed my contract. I went to the labor department, and they had a staffer that could speak English a little bit sit down with me, and I said, here's the problem. I just signed a new contract with the school. They're not paying me on time. What do I do about it? And they said that they will call the school and threaten the owner that he's not abiding by the contract. And worst comes to worst, the school gets blacklisted. And that black mark on the school is very embarrassing for the teacher, and it hurts the business if they don't pay you. And we will also give them a fine, levy a fine against them in the school that they're breaking the law. And I said to myself, all right, so this is not something that is like this guy's not going to go to jail or anything like that, but if he has to pay a fine, wouldn't he pay you, the government, before he pays me? And they said, well, yeah, that's kind of right. I said, this guy doesn't have money. What good is fining him for not paying me? It's money that I need. And that's kind of counterproductive to help me, isn't it? So I said, I went to the manager, and I actually, recorded the conversation with the guy. And I said, what's going on? I told him, I said, I went to the labor department. They're going to call you. I think they did call him. And there's basically nothing they could do to fix the situation about the guy not having money and not paying me. I talked to a lot of teachers. I talked to a lot of Korean adults that hopefully have had some experience with it. Nobody had experience with this problem because this problem was unique. When teachers don't get paid, it's usually the school. They have the money, they just don't like the teacher, or they're trying to be cheap and save money. And that could have been the case with this guy. But looking back on it, I think that this guy was running out of money and he was really broke. This manager was a really super nice guy. He's a Korean guy and he lived in Australia for some time, maybe a year. His English wasn't that great. I did not communicate much at all with him. He would kind of walk by me and smile and look away, kind of like as we passed each other in the hallway. He was a super, super nice guy, but too nice. And not a good manager, meaning the students and the parents were pulling their students out of the school because they got the vibe that he's not a good teacher. And they were pulling on, even though, I was there. It had nothing to do with me, the teacher told me. They liked me, but he was the problem. And he would sit in his office during the day, and I wondered what he was doing. And there was a lot of times he was not in the school, like he was walking around outside for a couple hours. And I thought, the school's going under. What the hell is he doing about it? And guess what? I tried to do something about it. I printed out flyers. I showed him a flyer that I made for the school that he said, wow, that's great. I got a whole bunch of them printed, and I went out and canvassed the neighborhood and put them up on bulletin boards in apartment buildings. And he said, oh, you don't have to do that. I did everything I could to try to help this school. I never heard of any teacher doing that before. By this time, I was like maybe $2,000 in the hole, which is a month's salary over like 2 months' time, something like that. I was only getting paid like half. And he's telling me, don't leave. Don't worry. I'm getting more students that are coming. And there's a math school upstairs in the building they're going to join. And you'll get your money. Don't worry about it. And because he paid me back on time the other time, I believed him. I didn't know what else to think. And I didn't know what else to do, because nobody had seen this problem before, this specific issue with me. Labor department really couldn't help me. People didn't know what advice to give me. Then weird things started happening where they were renovating the school. And I thought, he's got money to renovate this school? Or is he having an investor come in and renovate this school? Is somebody buying the school from him? It was just weird. Like, it didn't look like there was no money, but there was not a lot of students in the classrooms. They were leaving. So I did believe that the school was starting to lose money because of that. He moved me out of the apartment. He paid for everything. The movers came in, they put everything in boxes, they take all the appliances. and moved me into the typical small one-room shoebox apartment. And that sucked. Now, he lived with his family. This guy had a wife and 2 little kids in the same high-rise building. He downgraded too, and he had to move to a small apartment too. So that led me to believe that he's not like hiding money. The guy's going broke. I was a member at an English church in the city, and they would have a small prayer group afterwards. And people would say, is there anything going on in your life that you want us to pray about? And I said, I'm in a tough situation at work. And I don't know how to get out of it because the school controls where I live. And I felt like if I quit, I don't know where I'm going to live if he kicks me out of the apartment. If I leave, I'm not going to be able to recover the money he already owes me. So it was like kind of like a no-win situation. The longer I stay there, the more money I lose. But I feel like if I leave, then there's no chance I can get my money back. So that was really a nightmare. And the problem just kept getting worse. I wrote down all the money that was owed to me. And if I had stayed with the school for the rest of the 6 months, by this time, I was there for 1.5 years. I would have lost like $12,000 if I had stayed. By the time I finally did leave, it was like maybe $8,000, $8,000 to $10,000 if you include the bonus. Anyway, my church saved me. After a couple weeks or 4 weeks of talking about this issue, and everybody trying to suggest things to do that weren't going to help, the church said that it was a huge Korean church with a English ministry. They said that, they said, Stephen, we have a elementary school, a private elementary school attached to our church. We have like 300 students in 4 different grades. We had a part-time English teacher there, but we would like to hire you to be the full-time English teacher. We'll give you a free apartment and we'll pay you the same amount of money that you were promised at your school. And that's where I worked for 2012. I mean, they basically saved me. The manager, the old manager at the school, I took him to a lawyer. I went to a lawyer, and I paid like $250 to have the lawyer write up an agreement that the guy was going to pay me what he owed me over time. And the manager came. He always did what I asked him to do. He came to the lawyer's office to sign that. He helped me change my phone and keep my phone number. Like, he did all that stuff, but the guy had no money. And after like a couple months, I think he made 1 payment, and that was it. I got nothing. I went back to the lawyer. The lawyer said, look, if you want to take this guy to court and sue him, it's going to, my legal fees are $3,000. And suing him is one thing, and you have to win that in court. Collecting your money is a whole different story. And if he's broke, if he doesn't have any money, there's nothing you can do. And I thought to myself, I believe this guy is broke. The school's going out of business. He had to change his apartment. This guy has a wife and 2 little kids, and I just thought, like, the guy might just jump off a bridge or jump off a mountain and kill himself. So I just said, you know what? After about a year, I walked away from it. Now, I made all that money back in 2012. I got a food truck, and that is a story for another video. So that is how I lost a ton of money in South Korea. If you go back to my videos, you'll see I made 2 videos called The Dangers of Hagwon, the dangers of teaching at private school in South Korea. And that's basically what caused me to make those videos, is that situation I went through. That was near the end of it. I made that video in that little shoebox apartment that guy put me in. So I think most people would be so upset they would probably leave Korea and go back to their country, but I made the best of it. I survived, and here I am today, still at it, and doing much better now. So that's the story. Thanks for watching. By the way, if you like my perspective, if you like the stories I'm telling, and you like what I have to say about teaching English in Japan and in Korea, subscribe to my channel, make some suggestions about the kinds of videos you'd like to see, what you'd like me to talk about, and I would love to do that. Until next time, see ya.